Today with us is Rosie Paul Donaldson. She is the Land Acquisition Supervisor for the City of Ann Arbor Parks and Recreation Unit. Welcome, Rosie. Rosie, could you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got started in this position?
Hi Jill. Thanks for having me here. I have worked for the city of Ann Arbor for 3.5 years, and I did land acquisition for Washtenaw County Parks for several years before that. And I was tutored there really by someone who was in land conservation for a very long time. And prior to that, I did a master's in urban planning and a bachelor's degree in wildlife ecology. And I think this is an excellent combination of those skills.
Yes, very much so. So, what is your position in this day? What is your day-to-day duties?
My day-to-day duties is working on the Greenbelt program, the City of Ann Arbor Greenbelt program, which is a land preservation program preserving land surrounding the City of Ann Arbor, though it is entirely city funded. So the Greenbelt focuses on preserving land for its local agricultural economy, biodiversity, source water protection, and recreational opportunities. So I'm working on conservation easements day to day, working with landowners to help them make choices on their land if they ask for that help, and looking for more land to protect.
So, for our MIFarmLink farmers out there and the users of our platform, what is a conservation easement?
Yeah, a conservation easement is a legal document that you can attach to your land in partnership with a land trust or government. A conservation easement permanently protects agricultural, forest, or other natural land uses on that land while prohibiting or limiting other types of uses. For most farmers, it is an agreement to keep doing what you've been doing, is how we like to talk about it. Hundreds of landowners across the state of Michigan have chosen to do conservation easements, resulting in hundreds of thousands of acres protected across the state. It's not new. We've been doing this for a long time.
Since when in Michigan at least, or in other states
Oh,
as well?
yeah. Nonprofit land trusts have been doing this in the state at least since the 1970s.
Wow, excellent. So they saw a need even back in the day to
Mhm.
protect farmland. Why might a landowner choose a conservation easement instead of selling their land for development?
Yeah, this is a big question. There are both financial and personal benefits to landowners for choosing a conservation easement, and I will start with the financial. If it is beneficial to taxes, a landowner can donate a conservation easement to a qualified organization. However, most anywhere in the state of Michigan, a landowner can find a program that can pay cash for a conservation easement. That includes the City of Ann Arbor Greenbelt. Conservation easements reflect a specific right to your land that you are giving up, and these programs will pay you to compensate for that. You can, of course, do whatever you'd like with that money, no strings attached, though many farmers will often either reinvest in their business, buy more farmland, or critically use it to retire from farming. A landowner's choice to sell their farmland for development is usually a necessary one made at retirement because cash is needed at that point, and developers have the cash to give. But getting paid for a conservation easement, then selling the land to another farmer offers an alternate route to a retirement fund that keeps the land in farming use. And that taps into the personal benefits of a conservation easement. As a landowner, a farmer, you spend years, sometimes your whole life, on a piece of land, tending to that land. A conservation easement helps ensure that legacy and your home live on without being paved over by developers.
Mhm.
Your neighbors also love that your land is farmland and would likely be happy if you preserved it. You all chose to live in a place with strong rural character and want it to remain that way, and conservation easements help with that.
Certainly. And you kind of alluded to this already, but how can conservation easements help keep farmland available for that next generation of farmers? You said they could easily sell that land to the next generation. And those are the benefits that then that next generation can take over that land and continue that farming legacy.
Yeah, and this is a land use protection tool. Between or over the last 20 years or so, Michigan lost 6.5% of its available farmland, and you can't farm without farmland. So conservation easements on what is currently farmland allow agriculture to continue while prohibiting, other uses. Uh, Conservation easements are usually permanent, forever, going on for generations. So that's protecting it, making it available for next generations. Zoning also does that, but conservation easements are even stronger than zoning legally.
And you work particularly in the Ann Arbor and surrounding areas. Why is it unique and important in that region to maintain conservation easements and to have that kind of tool available?
Yeah, in an urban area, it's important because development pressure is usually higher,
Mhm.
and zoning can thus be it can one can more easily argue for a rezoning to a denser use in an
Mhm.
area with higher development pressure.
Mhm.
Uh, so conservation easements help prohibit that or help prevent that. Um, Land or areas with urban populations want to see their area farms protected so that we can have more local economy.
Mhm.
For farmers, that's great because you have a local resource or a place, a local market to sell your products. And it's just a more regionally dynamic economic system.
Mhm. Yeah, I see that too, where the food system is more robust in that area. That's wanting to save more acres, kind of closer surrounding the Washtenaw County, Ann Arbor area. Yeah, it's food security at that point, right? Like you have that land available to farmers. What are some of the common misconceptions landowners have about conservation easements?
Yeah, I'd say there's one big one. There are many questions that landowners have about
Mm.
conservation easements, but the biggest misconception is perhaps that because conservation easement programs are also very commonly known as purchase of development rights programs,
Hmm.
many people think all development is prohibited, and that's not necessarily true. Most entities that hold conservation easements, land trusts, and governments on farmland know that buildings like barns, storage sheds, animal shelters, and even a whole farmhouse residence are necessary to support a working farm.
Hmm.
And these entities can usually construct an easement to accommodate those needs.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. What steps should a landowner take if they're interested in putting a conservation easement on their property?
Yeah, getting started on this process is simple. You find a qualified conservation easement holding entity in your area, and then they will hold your hand and walk you through the rest of the process and do most of the heavy lifting from there. The biggest work is finding the one you want to work with. There are land conservancies and land trusts covering most, if not all, of the state of Michigan. You can find yours by giving it a Google or using the Find My Conservancy tool at heartofthelakes.org. Depending where you are in the state, you may also have a local government program with or without dedicated funding for conservation easements.
Excellent. And how can conservation easements work alongside programs that connect farmers with available farmland, like MyFarmLink, for example?
Mm-hmm. We love MIFarmLink. So I previously said that conservation easements reflect a specific right to your land that you are giving up. and that programs will pay you to compensate for that. What they're compensating is the loss of value of the land due to the removal of the right to completely develop the property. Once a conservation easement is placed, the total value of the land is reduced. And that makes it financially easier for another farmer rather than just a cash flush developer to purchase the land. The process can also be switched around a little bit. A landowner can find another interested farmer buyer first, and they can come to an agreement where they use the cash from selling a conservation easement as a down payment on the land, like through a land contract. Regardless of which route you take, programs like MIFarmLink that connect farmers with available land can make finding that other farmer much easier. And those farmers can even come to you because you can advertise your land on
Excellent.
MIFarmLink.
And how, if folks are looking for more information, is there a website link or information that they could go to? I loved your Google link for Heartland dot
Heartofthelakes.org.
heartofthelakes.org. Perfect. Yes.
Other online resources for general information on conservation easements or land conservation options include the landtrustalliance.org. And then we have plenty of more local websites. a2gov.org/greenbelt is mine.
Excellent. Thank you so much for taking the time today, Rosie, to talk with us about conservation easements.
Thank you, Jill.